2. Good afternoon, Philadelphia. What's up? Trust Process Live. We are live. We are on the internet, and we do it this way because we choose to. And that's you're gonna get it, and you're gonna like it. All right. As always, I am your host, James Hyden, with my guys, the YG Young Gentleman, directly to the Actually, I don't know how you're seeing this, but
I'm
to
top
me,
right.
yeah.
I don't know
you're
about
top
y'all.
right.
I'm
I don't
top
like
right.
that. All right, I don't like that. But they're getting
On
my view
top.
actually, so I can talk from my perspective because my perspective is the only one that matters. So directly
Fair
below
enough.
me is YG Young Gentleman James Jackson. How you doing, my guy?
I'm good. That's me
All right.
firing the cannons because
All
we
right.
are playoff bound, baby.
Jesus Christ. All right. Mr. 5 digits, the man with digits in his name, 5, maybe more. I don't know, depending on the week. Max Coolish, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a day. It's certainly been a fun 24 hours, hasn't it?
It's been a couple hours. Yeah, I guess. You know what I mean? It's one of those. Josh
Almost
Saffron,
24.
how was, I could ask you how you're doing, but until you get a nickname, man, I'm not sure
It's like irrelevant.
I really care.
Right. It's like irrelevant.
I'm gonna just stop defending myself. Hey, next
good.
week, next show, that's the show. We're getting. Just gonna throw this out there. We're gonna throw a little gambling segment out there this week for Wild Card Weekend, and maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to get a little nickname out of that somehow. But the Eagles season is over, and believe it or not, that means I'm doing a little better for the first time. So,
wow. Yeah. Well, they you said it before the show. The season that came and went.
Yeah,
I like it.
That's catchy. A good one.
I like it. You know what I mean? But with that being said, we're gonna move right into our main event, and this one's tough. This is it's gonna start out tough, but I promise it's gonna get better. It's gonna get a little bit better. All right. So the first question, and JJ, I'm gonna come to you first because I'm up here. I want you to bring me down here. All right. Okay. I'm up here. I want you to bring me down here.
I feel like that's my role, and honestly, like I appreciate it, and I hold, you know what I mean? I hold it near and dear.
Very good. So the first question that I'm going to pose to you: Bush League? Like, was this Bush League? Like that move to take Jalen Hurts out of a quote unquote winnable game? Bush League?
I mean, here's the thing, Mr. Reverend Hyden, is you're a man of words. You're a man of the cloth. So you know that when you're right, when you're on the right side of the things, there's no way to mince words. There's no reason to mince words. So you don't have to put quote unquote before that. It's a 3-point game in the fourth quarter. I don't know in what scenario a 3-point game in the fourth quarter in an NFL football game isn't a winnable game. That's a winnable game by all 32 teams. That is a winnable game. So the fact that Doug Peterson decided to bench Jalen Hurts at that point, if you could call it a whole bunch of things, you can call it Bush League, you can call it tanking, you can call it mind-boggling, you can call it disrespectful, whatever it is, it's against the right side of the game. It's against the right intention of the game to go and bench your quarterback. Now, there's different circumstances that warrant different reactions and different results. So if Nate Sudfeld was a quarterback that you had just drafted, a quarterback that you had just acquired, and you needed to see something out of him like you wanted to see something out of Jalen Hurts, then yeah, put him in. This game, this win, it doesn't decide the outcome of your season. So put him in and see what he's got. Nate Sudfeld has now been a tenured backup of the Eagles for 3 years. That he's now been there and has never once even been thought about as the starter. Have you ever thought about him, Max? No. Have you ever thought about him?
Start one game, I think that kind of sucked.
Yeah, like even the fact that Nate Sudfeld has to be putting in the game is a thought that you don't even want to conceive. You don't even want to go across that thought.
He's a good locker room guy, I guess.
I guess.
His family might give him $2 million to be a locker room guy.
His family might own the company that stocks the vending machine. You get a discount on Reese's. There's a reason why he's in the locker room. To be on the field is not one of them. So you have already taken Carson Wentz out of his uniform. He was in street clothes yesterday. So the only quarterback that you have to evaluate on the field is the quarterback you spent a second-round pick on. A second-round pick on. And you benched him in a winnable game, a 3-point game in the fourth quarter for what? Like that's the reason that Doug Peterson has still yet to answer is the for what, is the why of it. And he's been asked several times, hey, he was given out, hey, were you tanking? Were you trying to lose the game to get a better draft pick? And his arrogance shined for it again. No, every time you go out on Sunday, you win the game. You play to win the game. So now I feel like I'm Cardi B screaming at him, well, what was the reason? What was the reason, Doug? What was the reason then? Because
he's got a
Jalen
case
Hurts
of the suds.
of this, like it's
Huh?
it was
Bueller? No?
and
That's actually on TV right now. AMC.
there you go.
Sorry.
There you go.
That's fact.
And it's fitting. It's fitting. And you know, and I get you're not playing for other teams. You know, you're not playing to give the Cowboys or Giants a chance to make the playoffs. You don't play for other teams. You play for yourself. Okay. But there's an integrity and like a respect level that goes along playing against the best football players in the world.
You pull him because he was playing poor. You had the Nate Sudfeld thing already set up in place. But here's the real kicker. If you leave Jalen Hurts in, he's prone to be a runner, and you don't want him taking any big shots in the last unnecessary game of the season. And that is the missing piece you need to drop in your press conference there. He's objectively playing bad enough to bench him if there was someone worth evaluating behind him. There's not, and that's where the questions come from. Mm-hmm. The Eagles laid all the pieces. They could have played this a lot better if you're asking me for my honest opinion. That's my honest to God opinion on this. They could have played this a lot better. I think it was very I'll say it was a little bush league to promise a guy who was a third string, guarantee him playing time days in advance. What if, that game was close? They should have kept Jalen Hurts in. There's no reason to not have him get as much experience against. You say what you want about that team's offense. The Washington football team defense is legit. That front four is legit. Playing against that team will accustom you to the NFL speed of having one full less second in the pocket around you. That is the kind of thing that I am pissed about benching Jalen Hurts for. But overall, I think the Eagles more so blundered their reaction to all this. I don't think they thought this would blow up in their face like it did. I don't know why they thought it wouldn't, being the Sunday night game. But I don't think
the whole nation, the whole world.
Yeah, which by the way, why was this the Sunday night game? Can anybody?
Washington's a win and get in team. I don't know. I'm not.
There was literally like two or three games
I thought that was clearly I guess that couldn't have made sense because they needed to play at the same time as the Saints. So I don't know. Maybe it was kind of just I
don't know.
The Giants Cowboys was static. Winner has a chance to advance. Losers out. So I don't know. I wish it wasn't.
Well, Josh, real quick. Josh, before you go, Max, the other part of it that I was going to get to is like it seems like the Eagles have such a tough time with putting confidence behind a quarterback or confidence behind, who they want to lead their team, because they didn't do it with Wentz. Like there was no defense for Wentz to give him some confidence. And then now when you defense for Wentz, you like that? But now when you make Jalen Hurts the starter, he's probably thinking like, okay, now this team thinks that I can do it. So let me go out to improve them that I can do it. And then you take the kid out one quarter when the job is almost done. You got 10 minutes left. That's 10 minutes left of the season.
Yeah. And if they did it a whole quarter earlier, this would not have been a big deal.
There would not have been a thing. If you did it at a quarter break or a half break, no one talks about it. But you did it with randomly. 10 minutes.
I went to the bathroom and came back and I'm like, wait,
is he hurt?
Like, I missed a play and then I see it's first exactly. And Sudfeld's out there, and I was so confused.
Hey, your boy got a nice hit on the under on pass attempts on Jalen Hurts, but
there you go. No, so that's my question is, why is it so hard to instill confidence behind somebody? Because you had a chance to instill confidence in what I would perceive from what's going on is your quarterback, at least for now, moving forward into next season, right? It looks like the Wentz wagon is all about tobaccoed over, and now Jalen Hurts is your guy. So now all you're doing is stripping confidence away from him again. Like, yes, Max, there is a chance he gets hurt. And God forbid, Lord willing, it's not anything crazy or career ending or season missing. But if he does get nicked up, this is the last game of the season. We have an off-season training camp to get him through it. All you did was lift your chance.
Josh, jump in here. Tell me if this is Bush League.
Yeah, look. There's no way that it's not Bush League, all right? But at the same time, I think it doesn't matter. And let me elaborate on that. And look, it didn't sit well with me. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it sit well with me, but how can you blame a team for doing what's going to benefit them? Like, they did the thing that clearly benefited them in every single way. And like, look, that doesn't sit well with me. That doesn't make it any less Bush League, but it's the same thing it's always been. We're from Philly, effing Philly. No one likes us. we don't care. And that's exactly what that was last night.
Toxic as fuck is what that. Excuse my language. Toxic is what that is.
This ain't no kid show. It's toxic as fuck.
Coins in the jar.
But that's toxic as hell.
And that's fine. And the Giants will come to Lincoln Financial Field next year and they can duke it out on the field. And I'm sure they will. I'm saying that what Philly does on Philly's time is their own business. And do I approve of that move? No, I don't. But I'm someone who is a proponent of tanking. And here's the caveat of that, though. I don't think that they greatly benefited themselves all that much just by throwing that game last night. And yes, I'm going to say they threw that game because that's exactly what they did. Let's make no mistake about it. They threw the game last night. And Max, you said it. Washington was doing everything they could for the Eagles to win. They even muffed that punt at the end with Nate Sudfeld in.
They tried, man. They gave Nate another chance.
Snap. They gave him like 3
It was almost the Nate Sudfeld game.
So, but my biggest thing here now, Max, and you guys are on opposite sides here, so maybe you will disagree with this, but I just don't think that changing spots in the draft position by that loss last night really did them that much for a couple of reasons. One, my eyes are on a wide receiver, and I don't know if obviously mock drafts are only mock drafts, but I still think the Eagles could have gotten one of those guys from the SEC, even if they won last night. And two, it's the more problematic of the two. I have no faith in this front office to make a good pick, whether it's at 6, whether that's at 10, whether it's at 22. I have no faith in this front office.
But the second fear is one that a draft pick doesn't help. If anything, the higher the draft pick, the more the pressure is to get the pick right. But two, I have to go back to you saying that I will never go against a team that does something to benefit them. Where was the benefit then? What was the benefit of benching?
That's my thing, because they were they scared that Jalen Hurts was going to rip off like a 70-yard run? Because everything else wasn't really happening.
And if they did, you draft at 9 instead of 6.
Yeah, I don't.
It's not a huge benefit for the Eagles either way, but I think that it's just important to keep in context that, on the opposite side of the coin, we never have any issues with teams resting their starters or anything for week 17. And I know it's a different story. I know it's completely different. But ultimately it does boil down to teams doing what they think is the best, decision for that organization moving forward. And for whatever reason, the Eagles communicated to the media that they thought getting Nate Sudfeld game reps would be beneficial for the organization moving forward. Look,
Max, don't let them lie to you. Max, don't let them lie to you. You know better. You know that's a lie.
They said
you
it.
know
they
better.
Said not me. Don't shoot the messenger.
No. I'm not shooting the. I'm shooting the receiver. I'm shooting the receiver because you know that's a lie. You know that's a lie. They can sit up here. They can sit up here and say we benched Nate Sudfeld.
It doesn't make sense.
We benched Nate Sudfeld because the sky is green, and I don't want to play Jalen Hurts when the sky is green.
We gotta bring in Nate Sudfeld with the fucking cannon on, bro. He's got a cannon under that jersey.
They can say whatever they want.
He's gonna give you one all the way up in the Wawa and Aaron Mingo Ave. He's got a big one under there.
But that's a lie. And yes, tanking culture has kind of been accepted through sports, but there has not been a general manager besides Sam Hinkie that I've ever heard actually come out and say, we are tanking. We are losing on purpose. Sam Hinkie's the only way he even say it, but he made it very apparent.
A good way to lose, though. I think
that's what I'm saying. Actually, so no coach is going to admit that. No coach is going to say, like, yeah, I took Jalen Hurts out so we'd lose that game. So you know that anything he says on that is either a spin or a lie. So
that's my point. I think this was Doug Peterson's cry for help. I think this was fire me. Like, I think this was an inside fire me now. I'm going to put in Nate Sudfeld. I'm going to take out the dude you drafted at number 2.
This was
and put in Nate Sudfeld.
Inside job.
Me.
What do you mean by inside job?
Jeffrey Lurie called down to Doug and said, "Hey, put in Sudfeld. We want a better draft pick next year." Something like that. I think there was a plan to lose that game.
Look, I'll say this. For as much as I think we all hate Howie coming back to some capacity. I think we all have our doubts to some capacity about Doug. And
I mean, I don't care. Do what you want.
Whatever. Stay out of this. Mute yourself. I'll say this. Say what you want about him. Jeffrey Lurie has produced almost 25 years straight of above average results year in and year out. And I sure as hell will take him over damn near any other owner in the league. If you put Jeffrey Lurie and 3 other random owners in an ABCD multiple choice, there's about an 80% chance that he's the correct answer out of that situation. So I'm not saying this can't or won't blow up in the Eagles' face. All I'm saying is that Jeffrey Lurie, who is the man that is making all these decisions, he has earned, this leap of faith. He was quick to step in with Chip Kelly when he saw it all hit the fan. He clearly doesn't think that this is at that point. So I'm going to trust the guy who has steered the ship, pretty much as straight as can be for the entirety of my life.
Well, speaking about people who may or may not want to be here, it's been all over the news. It's been all over social media. It first came out with the Zach Ertz press conference, and say what you will about the man, say what you will about his play on the field. That was about as authentic a press conference as you will ever see. So it came out later on, the videos of Zach Ertz sitting by himself. He stayed out on the field until about 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I got to put that out there for the viewers watching.
It's the only time zone in the world.
He stayed out there, and it turned out that Carson Wentz and Jason Kelce both came out to join him on the field. Now, you can take this whatever way you will. Little powwow on the field between old pals. Jason Kelce has talked about retirement for years now. Carson Wentz is obviously trying to be packaged up in bubble wrap and UPS to whatever city puts the highest bid on him. And now it looks like Zach Ertz, the all-time leader in receiving yards, receptions, and touchdowns for the Eagles franchise, is also on his way out. So can we assume that this means they are all leaving? Like every single one of them. Jason Kelce's retiring, Ertz is gone, and Wentz is shipped out. Josh, I'm gonna start with you, man. Are we seeing an exodus of not even just those three players, but like I'll keep it to those three players. Are they gone?
Yeah, I would say, two of the three, that's just a guarantee. The Wentz and Ertz, absolute guarantee, but I think barring anything incredible with Carson Wentz happening. And Kelce, that's the interesting one. And based on the pictures from last night, because that's what we're based on the rumors of his retirement, plus the pictures last night of that three. And I don't know if it's because I'm a little bit younger and I have a little bit more hope and naivety to me, but I feel like Jason Kelce will be back. I feel like he will be back, maybe if it's just for 1 year to see if he can give it a go. But as regarding Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz, those guys are gone. And Zach Ertz, man, I know this is not a very popular take and not a very popular thing of me to say, but good riddance, Zach Ertz. I did not like that messy. That was a messy breakup. I did not like how, I'm going to use the word, I hate to use the word, entitled. He came off yelling at Howie. And I don't like taking the Howie side, but the bottom line is there was reports that Zach Ertz was yelling at his general manager. And I get it. These are players. These are superstars.
We've been yelling at Howie Roseman for weeks.
Hey, if I was face to face with Howie Roseman, I would say, "Nice to meet you, sir." You know what I mean? And
oh, come on, dude.
Come on. No,
he puts on his pants one leg at a time. He puts on his pants one leg at a time, just like you do, Mr. Safran.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like I do. And I sit here and I yell at him because it's fun.
Oh, the humble Howie Roseman. Oh my gosh. Oh, what?
But what I'm trying to say is Zach Ertz has no right to be yelling at Howie Roseman, making a fool of him and stuff like that. And I don't like Howie Roseman. I'm just saying Zach Ertz's attitude for this year kind of set the precedent for the entire 2020 season that was to come.
You're going to put that on a tight end instead of the head coach.
I'm not going to put it on him. I'm just saying it was Brandon Brooks is injured for the year.
We have got a lot of omens.
It was Brandon Brooks was injured for the year. Zach Ertz is yelling at Howie Roseman, and then everything just went downhill.
He wanted like $3 million more a year guaranteed just because he earned it. Like he wasn't asking for a Kelce or a Kittle contract, and all he wanted was like $3-4 more million a year guaranteed for like 3 more years. Like how is that? How have we jumped from a dude wanting to get paid not even to the level that he plays when he's healthy? Like how have we gotten to that point where we're like shaming players for want to be not even fairly valued, but want to at least feel valued by the organization that drafted them?
And I feel like the Ertz situation is a little similar to the Malcolm situation, where Malcolm was screaming for a new contract for years, and Howie kind of just waited until it made sense to not pay him now.
Right.
Like,
And that's a great point. That's a fantastic point,
you know what I
because
mean?
look at the whole Malcolm Jenkins left. Like you're taking two pieces that weren't are valued fairly, that are huge pieces of this team, and just removing them. Like let's stop acting like Dallas Goedert is the answer, because Dallas Goedert's never played 16 games.
No, he's not.
Yeah, but the thing is with the Malcolm Jenkins argument is I almost feel like that proves the Zach Ertz argument, because now you got another player who you have to pay.
You saw Malcolm Jenkins seal the game yesterday for the Saints, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, but he's on the wrong side of 30. You know what I mean?
And played all 16 games for the #1 seed in the NFC
and sealed the game clincher.
Look at the Eagles' cap situation now, and that's with that's because of Carson Wentz, first of all. But I'm saying, giving Zach Ertz, giving these older players more money like they've been doing these last 3 years isn't going to help the problem. And if you remember, I'm pretty sure I came on here week 1 saying we got to trade Zach Ertz. Like, I have always been saying we got to get rid of Zach Ertz before he starts declining.
Yeah, but let's see the difference between let's trade Zach Ertz and good riddance. You know what I mean? Let's not just like downtrod the man for all he's done. Like he's probably one of the most active Eagles in the community. Like, he's a good dude. Like, let's not just say good riddance. Like, all right, let's get something for Zach Ertz. You know what I mean?
You hit something. Sam,
come on now.
I did.
Your banner's right
Pretty
there.
disrespectful, honestly.
I mean, you're talking to a man here. You're talking to a man here in James Hyden who's worked with the Ertz family personally.
Well,
so
no. Just besides that, I mean, it was 2 years ago where the dude was where we were talking about Zach Ertz not just being the best tight end in the league, but a top 3 receiver in the league. Yeah. Like, for everything he's done for the organization, let's not overstep. You know what I mean? Let's be like, all right, Zach, cool. Time to cut bait here. Like, it's time for both sides to move on, but let's not take shots at the guy when he's down, obviously. I'm saying. I'm
not trying to take shots at the guy. All I'm saying is
let him fire, Josh. Let him fire. I love it. I love the chaos you're spewing right now.
Listen, Banners, you bring up good points. It's a sports good riddance. All right. There's a big difference between good riddance, Zach Ertz, and then just like a sports.
No, that's a fair point. No, that's a fair point. Thank you for what you've done with us, but like, it's time to move on.
Well, no,
thank you for what you've done.
If you're gonna bring up the community.
And here's the thing. It's something that I think the Eagles should be way better at way before Zach Ertz. It's like, thank you for what you've done, but it's time to move on.
Right. I just was afraid that Howie was going to I want this guy to retire an Eagle and say, here, put any number you want on the check, Zach Ertz. And that's what Zach Ertz was trying to get. He was like, I've done so much for this organization. Give me my money. Give me my. And it's just
I think you need to go back and revisit that whole topic, my man, because that's not what it was.
I mean, he only wanted a couple mil more. He didn't want a blank check. He's wanted a couple mil more. He wanted fair market value for what he was bringing.
I didn't want to give him a couple mil more, and I thought he handled it poorly, and it sat well with me to this day.
I just don't get where you're like, I don't get, and this is the last thing I'll say, Anna. I don't know how we can take different sides of different players. Like one dispute, it's the player's fault. The other dispute, it's Howie Roseman's fault. Like, why are we drawing? Why is there not clear lines drawn? You know what I mean? If there's an issue with one player versus Howie, and then there's another issue with another player versus Howie, how does that not tell you in your mind that it's probably because Howie Roseman sucks at human interaction between his players and his front office, and there's just a clear disconnect? Like, wouldn't that make logical sense? What's
the other one you're talking about?
I mean, we'll go back to last year, Malcolm Jenkins. We'll go forward to this year, Carson Wentz. Like, it's usually there's a common denominator here, and it's usually the guy that has the title of general manager. Is that not fair to say?
Yeah, no,
that's fair. Most of the time,
that's extremely fair to say, and I get what you're saying. I'm not over here rushing to Howie Roseman's defense. I just think there's a chain of power, and in sports and everything, there's a chain of power, and that's not how you treat someone who is technically your higher up, and Zach Ertz might feel a certain way, and I did not like it.
Josh, I was with you until you said that Zach Ertz needed to follow line. It's 2021. I don't care who's above me. If you disrespecting me, you're not gonna disrespect me. Like that's what, man. You can be my boss.
We've been on the forefront of saying that the NFL is the league where the players have the least power, and we need to change that. Like, isn't that the whole movement? Like, players need more power. Like, the NFL is the only league without fully guaranteed contracts. Like,
players need to be able to speak up.
There's that. A guarantee. That's a different story.
Players need to be able to speak up too. Zach Ertz should be able to knock on his boss's door and say, "Hey, look at what I've done for you, and then here's my market value." So I think that just needs to be bumped up a little bit to match what I've done for you. And
I'm not even asking for Kittle or Kelsey. I'm asking for
this right here where I'm at.
For 10 to 15 range. Like I
That's
don't,
what I'm asking.
Personally, I don't understand. Well, so Josh, you think Ertz and Wentz are gone out the door? You think Kelsey gives it one more run at it, max $1 million? Give me your thoughts.
It's okay,
I don't know.
man.
I've been pretty steadfast in saying that it's going to take a lot of things to go right. I mean, it's not going to take a lot of things to go right for Carson Wentz trade, but there's no way the Eagles can have a Carson Wentz trade happen where they're a winner or they're anything better than just like
break even. Yeah.
Bit. Like it's such a shitty situation to be in, and it's like, you know, how much are people going to hold them by, you know, for lack of a better term, how bad are people going to hold them by the balls over a trade? Like we're not going to take this contract off your hands unless you give us a second. Like are they going to, you know, or first or whatever, you know, the market deems to demand, but you know, are they going to fall for that? If not, then he's on the team again. And I can absolutely see a world where that happens, because, you know, even if you are the Colts and you're so good, you're one quarterback away from being a contender again after, you know, Phillip Rivers doesn't stay. Is Carson Wentz an upgrade over Phillip Rivers? Like, are we sure? I'm not.
Yeah.
And you guys know how I feel about Phillip Rivers.
Exactly. And guess what? You don't need to commit $90 million to Phillip Rivers over the next 3 years if you trade for him. So it's just like I still personally am struggling to come to terms with the idea of Carson Wentz being traded just because of his situation. And so I don't know. I'm going to say that maybe this is wrong. And, you know, if I'm wrong, then I'll eat my words down the line, but I just can't shake the feeling that Wentz isn't going anywhere. I feel like there'll be a lot of talk. There'll be a lot of smoke. There won't be any fire, because, you know, how are two sides going to agree on a deal that both sides deal kind of fair or deem kind of fair? And just one last quick thing before JJ goes. I just really would hate to see this be a Brock Osweiler thing where we need to dump multiple picks and a team we dump those picks to uses them well. Like, there's not a shittier feeling in the world when we traded up to the Browns for Carson Wentz back in the day. Nothing scared me more than the idea of us taking a bum and the Browns using those picks to retool and rebuild and become a good team. It didn't happen strictly on that timeline, but that trade most certainly did contribute to the Browns becoming a playoff team this year while the Eagles are missing the playoffs. Like that trade did have some long-term butterfly effects, but, you know, it certainly was worth it for what we got out of it.
What's that? 153 million, something like that? Was that the contract?
I don't know. It's a lot.
That screams.
It was 100. It was 150 M's, 100 plus M's for sure.
That screams first round pick attached. Unfortunately,
90 left on it.
Yeah, that's screaming first round pick attached.
That's true.
JJ, what are your thoughts, man? Oh wait, Max, Kelsey, thought back or not back? Yes. Oh, interesting. All right, JJ.
So I have the unique perspective of being able to look at this objectively. The two on the other side of I'm saying not you. You're always, I know you're always objective, but the two on the other side of the panel over there, you can't look at things objectively. And so what I saw when it comes to the Eagles, what I saw last night was three people soaking in what was left of what they're about to leave. I know you guys have been a part of things before, organizations, teams, fraternities, whatever, that you've spent a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears and energy in. And when it was done, you had that moment of recollection and reflection where you sat in just the room, the vehicle, wherever you did your best work, and you just sat there and you were like, wow, damn, I can't believe that this is over. Wow, damn, remember when we did this? Remember when we did? You don't have that moment if you're coming back or you're planning on it. You just don't. Like, it's just regular human nature, like, well, I'm not gonna like, if I'm Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz, or Jason Kelsey, I'm not having that big powwow, that big dramatic moment, because I'm like, what we doing? We're gonna take a couple of months, and then in April, we back in that NovaCare complex right across the street. We getting back to it. Why we sad?
Well, I sat in the basement with a nice, refreshing, light beverage before I took my fifth year. So I could see both sides.
But you knew after that fifth year you were planning on leaving. Your sights weren't staying in that basement. So I think their sights aren't staying in Lincoln Financial Field. Now, Carson Wentz, whether the rumors are true or not, what the Carson Wentz rumors were, he wants to help facilitate a trade, not demand, not require, help facilitate one. So I think even he knows that, man, I might not be able to make it happen. But if we can make it happen, Howie, if there's a situation that you find that you're okay with making it happen, which might give a little bit too much leverage and too much power into Howie Roseman, who's not going to want to pull that deal if it doesn't benefit him. But he's saying, like, if you can find something that makes that happen, I'm willing to go. Like, I'm okay with going. I want to find another scenario if we can make that happen. Carson's also a really cordial dude. So he's not going to be a Zach Ertz who's going to yell at Howie, make this happen for me. But he's going to knock on the door politely, the door open, and say, hey, you know, just by the way, if you can find something on the market there, I'm okay with going. I've done what I needed to do here. Y'all have showed me that my time is coming to an end here. Me, Zach, and Jason are cool. We had our moment. Like, we got the pictures to show for it. So you know what? He's at ease. They're at peace. That was a peace of mind moment. And they've got, you don't stay out to the field till 1 a.m. You don't have a press conference where you're crying and talking about how much the team has meant to you, what you've done, with the stuff you've accomplished. Past tense stuff he used. I are elsewhere.
I completely agree. Yeah. I just completely agree. That's exactly what it looked like. I would just say that it was like Wentz and Ertz were the friends saying goodbye, and Kelsey was the guy who was just reliving the memories. And
he's the buddy there that might not leave, but like he was part of that group. No, and Jason Kelsey also, he strikes me as the kind of player who, one, is a tenure guy. So I don't want to wear another jersey of another team, especially if I know if I'm not going to be one of the best players on that team. Like, this was my team, so I want to wear. I'd rather retire an Eagle. But he also strikes me as a guy who knows what I can't bring a ship back up, or I can recognize when I can't bring a ship back up afloat. Like,
I think not all
my Eagles team anymore.
I think all three are gone. I'm with you, JJ, because
I think all three are gone.
I mean, I just listening to Trey Thomas speak. Jason Kelsey did not have a good year, guys. Like, if we're gonna be like real honest,
the first half of the year was very rough.
Like, he did not have a good year. Like, he was responsible for a good amount of issues on that line. He made the Pro Bowl off of name recognition only. So it's, and let's not pretend Kelsey was ignorant to that either. Like, he knows he didn't have a great year. So, hey, if my boys are out of here and I saw how the organization treated them, I'm going to pull a Jared Allen and ride off into the sunset on the back of the horse.
While I can, I see the way this team is going, and it's not a complete, tank and overhaul, but it's a heavy retool. And I don't have 5+ years of my career where I can survive a heavy retool and then still be here to reap the benefits of it. He don't got that. If Jason Kelsey,
and let's not forget that Isaac Seumalo was drafted with designs for him to be a center. That was the plan.
I think all signs point to them moving on.
Yeah. So what? So JJ and I have all three of them not being back. Max, you have Wentz and Kelsey being back, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And then Josh, two, Ertz and Wentz gone, and Kelsey coming back.
Out. Kelsey coming back. And
gotcha.
But JJ, you might just phone me just a little bit, because what's the Batman quote? You either die a hero, live long enough for yourself to see yourself become a villain. So, look, Kelsey's looking at those two guys. He sees Wentz as a villain. He hears Josh saying good riddance to Zach Ertz, and he doesn't want to be next. So he might as well get out while he still can.
Might as well get out while the getting's good. But we are going to move on.
A quick one, James, before we move on. Oh, I was going to say a quick one before we move on. I think he's also seen how the Eagles faithful have treated Jason Peters, when it seems like Jason Peters is hanging on for a little too long. He's like, that's not what we know.
Jason
I'm not going to
have
them dragging my name through the mud because I tried to hang on for too long. Look,
for all we know, Jason Peters has 10 years left in the tank, man.
He don't have to look far down. He got to look 2 spots down the line to see, like, man, they don't really love that dude that much anymore. I don't want to be here when they don't love me that much anymore.
Well, we successfully brought me down, but I'm going to bring you right back up. We were talking about Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles are not in great shape organizationally, but let me take you across the parking lot to a team that is doing very well organizationally. And that team, we're not talking about the Flyers, even though we will very soon, because 9 days until Flyers. Not yet. Minute with Max is coming back soon, I promise. I know everybody's been clamoring for it, but I'm going to take you inside the same building
Nolan Patrick on the ice
and talk about our Philadelphia 76ers. The Philadelphia 76ers, who not only have the best record in the East, they have the best record in the entirety of the NBA, gentlemen, sitting at 5-1, the only team with one loss. Oh, it feels so good to say. But the first question, I'm going to come to you, Max, with it. Is Doc Rivers the Tobias Harris whisper? Is this like, are we seeing, is this the real Tobias Harris? Like, is this the guy we paid for? Like, and we've been as critical as anybody about him. You tell me if this is the real Tobias. You buying or selling this the real Tobias?
He just jives better with this style of offense. This is what he was comfortable in. This is the guy we thought we traded for and then gave the bag to. So, it's hard to not get a little bit ahead of yourself when dude just got named Conference Player of the Week, but he's certainly off to a good start this season, and I don't see why that can't keep rolling. He and everybody else look much more fluid in the offense, and I think that fluidity helps when this is something I've touched on a lot, where a lot of the guys on the Sixers seem to have very nailed in roles, and Tobias was just kind of like, hey, do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And now that the whole offense is a little bit more free flowing, man, I can't get that one right tonight. Now that everything's a little bit more free flowing, it is naturally lending itself to his skill set.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Josh Safran, tell me what you think. Are you buying or selling that this is the real Tobias Harris?
Man, I hate playing negative guy tonight, but I am selling. I'm selling as many stocks as I can. I'm selling as many shares as I can. And I've never been pro Tobias. Here, my biggest thing is this 3-game stretch he's on right now is crazy. So I went and I looked and I said, has he ever had a 3-game stretch comparable to this? One time in his tenure with the 76ers, only once. And right after that, he went right back to being Tobias Harris. And let's read the stats. He's averaging 23 points per game, 9.6 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, and then probably most impressive here, 2 blocks, 2 steals, and he's shooting 56% from 3.
Yeah.
That is, I would pay someone a max contract to do those things. Yeah. But that is just, it's unsustainable play. It's like we're saying, can Tobias Harris sustain his unsustainable play? That's what I feel like we're talking about here. And I just hate to say it, but if it reminds me of anything, it reminds me a little bit of Michael Franco at the start of the season when he was the RBI leader. Let's take advantage of this now. Let's trade him now while everyone's talking about him.
Franco ball.
That was tough.
Right.
That's a tough cut, man.
It's a tough one. I'm sorry.
Tough.
That's a good pull, but a tough cut, man. Seriously.
Tobias is a better player than Michael, but you get the sentiment I'm getting at here.
I do.
Yeah, no. I get the point. That was just a tough one to reference it to, but I get the point.
Friggin' dagger right there. JJ, buy or sell Toby as a real Toby?
Look, I sat on here exactly a week ago and said an ABP need to be put out for Tobias Harris because the Sixers still can't find him. And, what he was doing in the Sixers offense was just not good. Not getting it. That he's really shut me up. Did I just freeze? There you go.
Yeah.
He shut you up.
There's been 3 to 4 games since. Yeah. You just cut me right there. No, he did. The 3 to 4 games since have been amazing. The Raptors, 26 points, 11 rebounds. Against the Magic, 20-9. Against the Hornets, 24-9. And I think this is the Tobias Harris that the Sixers were looking for. Looking for his shot, too. It's not just the stats. It's actually like what I'm seeing from Tobias is why I was so critical of him. Because he was too important in the Sixers offense, getting paid too much money to just sit and let the game come to him. And that's what Brett Brown wanted him to do. Tobias will be cool if he lets the game come to him. And I think that was wrong. And I think he's benefiting now from a coach, one, that he's played for, and for a coach who just knows players a little bit better, and Doc, to where when I see Tobias is in a role, I'm going to kind of maximize Tobias in this offense, find the patterns of his success, and make sure we get back to that, especially in lineups where it's not Ben and Joel dominant, where he becomes the second focal point, maybe even the first focal point. And to your point, Josh, I think that's why a lot of we saw him regress back with Brett Brown, because Brett Brown was saying almost good job, Tobias. Now keep it up. Where Doc Rivers is saying, good job, Tobias. I notice it. Now go back to the locker room. Here's a different game plan to how it's going to continue. I'm going to make sure it continues for you. These looks that you're getting, I'm going to manufacture them. This offense that you're getting, I'm going to keep it that way so that you're still successful. And I think that's why I'm buying this Tobias. I just trust Doc a little bit more with that player development going along mid-season development than I do with Brett Brown. And he's just proven that over time. Brett Brown wasn't terrible at it, but Doc Rivers is one of the best in the modern era at it. Look what he did with beginning of the season 08 Rondo and finals Rondo. That's like different player. Yeah. He's done it many, many times before. So I'm buying this version of Tobias. I also, like, when I speak bad about Tobias, I want him to see him do well. I don't want to see Tobias do bad. So when I see him do well, I'm like, yo, that's the player I know you can be. That's the player we all know you can be. I want to keep that up. I want to keep him at that level. So I do think it's sustainable. I really do.
I'm going to echo that sentiment, and I'm going to say I'm buying this Tobias. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying I'm buying these statistics.
Right.
Because, Josh, you're completely right in saying that it's sustainable to ask him to continue being unsustainable. Like, you have Curry and Harris both shooting over 50% from three. That's going to come down. But at the same time, if you look at it, Shake Milton and Danny Green are both shooting under 30, like well under 30%. So it's regression to a mean. You know what I mean? Sure, Curry and Harris aren't going to shoot over 50% anymore, but Danny Green should, even during the regular season, shoot mid to high 30s, 30% from three. You know what I mean? Shake Milton's definitely going to have a streak where he goes off. So it's me buying that Tobias is going to keep being this aggressive. You know what I mean? You no longer see him taking those 2 to 3 jab steps before trying to dribble him and getting blocked. You know what I mean? You're not seeing that hesitancy, which is what I think I'm buying, which is great. You know what I mean? That's the Tobias we paid for. The guy who's going to take his shots, loves the pick and roll. So yeah, I'm not buying the stats, but I'm buying this Tobias. You know what I mean? Which I think is good. That was good. I really like all of our talking points right there. And we all, you know what I mean? We all like what we're seeing. Hopefully we continue.
Take a picture of this, because I think we all agreed pretty much. We're all pretty much on the same side of the road.
Exactly.
This is a picture moment.
Exactly. So this one's tough, guys. JJ, you laid out a couple of the Sixers opponents right there. Now, nobody's going to claim any of those people are world beaters. The upcoming schedule this next week gets a little bit tougher. They have back-to-back. Yeah.
Of course he would.
What would you?
Magic were the last undefeated team in the league.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Hey, you and I both agreed that the Cavs are better than everybody suspected. We agree on that, but let's not pretend that the Magic are
honestly, I'm glad he got that out now, because now the real discussion can happen. Like, I'm glad that outlier is said. So now
all right. They play tougher opponents than they have previously played. And this week it gets a little bit tougher. They also have a back-to-back, and they play the Nuggets, who, granted, the Nuggets have gotten off to a very, very slow start to the season. Well, Nikola Jokic hasn't, but the rest of the roster has. Jamal Murray looked a little bit like the bubble MVP in his last game. But they no disagreeing that the Nuggets have gotten off to a slow start. And the Nets, new news today that Kevin Durant is now quarantining for 6 to 7 days due to COVID protocols. So that drastically changes the outlook for that game. But let's not pretend that Kyrie Irving's still not on that team. They have a very talented bench. This week is going to really tell us more about this Sixers roster. So JJ, we got to test this week, man.
Yes, sir.
How do you expect the Sixers to fare against both these teams and with the back-to-back schedule?
Look, I think it's great that the Sixers got the runway of games that they got going into these games, the 5-1 and playing well against those 5-1 team or against those 6 teams. Gives you a little bit of extra, brass and bravado going up against a Western Conference opponent and someone a team that mostly everyone is picking to win the East. As and having back-to-backs in that week too. I think that bodes a lot for them. But a test nonetheless. And I think it's going to be, one of the biggest challenges of this semi-newly constructed Sixers teams is, okay, you beat the inferior teams. Good. That's like check one. Don't lose to teams you're not supposed to lose to. Good. We can do that. Now, can we beat teams that are better or as good and or better than us? And I think that's going to be the evaluation. How do we fare against these teams? And the Nets and Nuggets both possess things that the Sixers just traditionally really struggle against, and that's scoring, athletic, dynamic guards. And we know Kyrie Irving has games against the Sixers. You know, the newly constructed Jamal Murray and Monte Morris are always, you know, a product to go off against, you know, teams like the Sixers. Now, they're a little different at the guard position than they've been in the past couple of years. So that's another thing we're going to look forward to. In-game adjustments from Doc Rivers, another thing we can look forward to that might help them a little bit. But that's still something that they've got to shred the old Sixers mantra of, is that we can't guard the elite guards. Now they got two of the biggest tests in the NBA coming up this week, and they got to see what they can do against it. So I think there's going to be good and bad to take away from it. But I'm seeing a win against the Nets. I think having KD not going to be there is going to be like a huge advantage for the Sixers, but they play to that. And, you know, I think there's a win against the Nets, and, you know, it's a toss up to me, but, you know, for the Nuggets, because that Embiid Jokic matchup is one that Embiid should take very personally, because that's a statement. That's a statement game for Joel Embiid that I am the best center in the NBA. Forget what all you guys talking about, because it's weird. There are a lot of people talking about Jokic for MVP and not that many people talking about Embiid for MVP,
which is crazy.
I mean, Jokic, his start to the season has been wild. He's got 3 triple doubles already to start the season. It's been nuts. But I think I would take Joel Embiid as the best center in the NBA over Nikola Jokic.
And he always has great games against Jokic. Like,
now is another staple, but he's got to not squander that. That's an opportunity. That's a game that speaks volumes way past the win and loss column. So, yeah. Max, I saw you shake your head. You would take Jokic over Embiid, but I mean, I think it's slight 50-50. It's slight 50-50, but that's part of the mindset that JoJo is out there to shake. That's part of it.
Blasphemy. Max, tell me how we get a test this week. Have you studied? What are we expecting on this test, man?
So honestly, I'm going to come out and say it. I would have said a 1-1, but I'm feeling a 2-0. I think the Nets not having Durant is, I mean, you can't look at yourself as anything but a clear favorite in that game. If you want to be serious contenders for the East, you can't look at the Nets without Durant and treat them like the Nets with Durant. You have to almost be arrogant in a sense. You have to make them prove to you that they're as good as you without their 1A, 1B, however you want to classify him and Kyrie.
I don't mind that take.
The Nuggets have this era of the Nuggets, back when the Sixers were mediocre. I always felt great against Nuggets. They were Midwest Sixers. They were always mediocre. They had Carmelo, which kind of gave them a heads up or a head above us. But this iteration of the Nuggets, we play close games with them. Mm-hmm. We had a really, really, really ugly a huge blown lead to them. I forget if that was last year or the year before, but
2 years ago.
I think we were up 18 in the fourth and lost that.
Yeah. Yep.
But the Nuggets have been so terrible on defense this year. They're like
totally been bad.
They're like the Timberwolves level bad. It's like them, the Timberwolves, the Bulls, and I think the Hawks are like in a clear tier of defensive inefficiency.
Yeah, defenseless teams. Yeah,
points allowed per possession or something. Yeah, and it's that's crazy because when the perception of the Nuggets we also have is the team that grinded back from 2 back-to-back 3-1 deficits, played amazing fourth quarters throughout the bubble, was just dominant in the fourth quarter, really throughout their first rounds in the playoffs. And their fourth quarters haven't been bad this year, but they're routinely letting teams score 120 plus on them. And I know the Sixers haven't played world beaters, but the issue with this Sixers roster has never been defense. It's never been defense. It's been creating a fluid, flowing offense, and that seems to has changed a little bit this year. I don't see the Sixers being a shootout team this year. I really don't. They can score if they need to, but I see a lot of defensive soundness from the Sixers. Embiid and Simmons are still literally top 3 at their respective defensive duties in the league, and that's always really easy to build a defensive foundation on. So I'm going to say the Sixers keep rolling here, man. I really am. If the Sixers played a full strength Nets, and I'll be honest, I'm still worried more about the Nets than the Sixers. The Nets, the scrappy Nets, before they had Kyrie or when they had injured Kyrie, they always played us hard. Kyrie has given us fits. Cavs and Celtics Kyrie have just been Celtics Kyrie was just brutal to watch. The Sixers.
Yeah, he messed around with y'all. Yeah,
those classic guards go off against the Sixers games. Anytime this Kyrie played the Sixers, I locked him on DraftKings and always expected a 50 bomb. That was always no hesitation for me. And I'm probably going to do it when they play the Nets this week. I'll be honest. So there's my fantasy tip for the week. If you're playing DraftKings, play Kyrie against the Sixers. But I'm going to say the Sixers ride defense to. I'll say they won't cover against the Nets because whatever that spread is or is going to be too large. And
I agree.
I'm going to say they win double digits. I'll go double digits against the Nuggets.
Well, Josh, hey, I'm going to get to you, man. But before we do, real quick score update. The Sixers lead the Hornets by 15 at halftime, 58-43. And Danny Green hits a long three right before the buzzer. But the biggest shock, and we just talked about it, Tobias Harris. 11 points, 4 boards, and 1 assist. Like who knows? Who knows? I mean, maybe we know. I don't know. Who's to say that we know? I don't know. Josh, talk to me, man.
Oh man, this Nuggets game is going to be something. Just because I think like Jokic and Embiid is an NBA equivalent to a heavyweight fight nowadays because you don't get many big men. And
it's Fraser Ali.
Exactly. And you got like Jamal Murray and Spidad Mitchell. That's a good matchup, but those are, that's like Manny Pacquiao. You got the small guys. This is a heavyweight matchup, especially Jokic. I'm looking at you when I say heavy. But that Nuggets game, I think I'm excited for that game, but I'm not going to put it down just as a W right away for 2 reasons. And they are not Jokic or Jamal Murray, because this year I feel like Ben Simmons has absolutely established himself as defensive player of the year candidate. He could lock up Jamal Murray, but it's that guy, Will Barton, who has a game against the 76ers every year. Yep. And there's this guy named Michael Porter Jr. who's
Michael Porter Jr. just went on the COVID list.
I was about to say Puma fam now.
I actually think he's eligible to come off it. I think the Sixers play the Nuggets on Friday.
That's what I was getting at. I think the
Sixers Nuggets game becomes eligible again on Saturday.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, that was what I was getting at. And I was saying as long as Michael Porter Jr. is out, I'm going to call that a win. But I was nervous about MPJ. But what I'm getting at here is I feel very more. We've been talking about this. The guards on the Sixers, they are just so much more shored up. The role players on this Sixers team, I think, are just so much better. And that's going to be enough to. There's not going to be a Will Barton game, I don't think. Like years past, where you have someone inexperienced guarding Will Barton or Monte Morris, and they just let it fly, and they have their night where they're hot. I feel like that's happened to the Sixers many years. This is a different team, and I think that's going to be the game where we can really see. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about with this Nets game is the fact that they play the Wizards the night before. And I'm a little bit nervous that that's going to create a weird situation with Joel Embiid because
I might not see JoJo in the Nets game.
That's what I'm concerned about. And so if you don't see JoJo in the Nets game, that's going to raise eyebrows for me. And if JoJo's not playing that Nets game, I think that's an auto loss right away.
Oh, I can't deal with any more Tony Bradley.
Here's the thing. What I'm saying. I mean, if you're the Sixers, why not rest him against the Wizards, a team who is terribly shaky right now? So he's ready to go against one of the league's best. Now, why are you worried about the Wizards who are winless?
Maybe they won't even.
Or one win.
Fingers crossed.
What I just hate, and I've been a proponent for sitting him on back-to-backs. I think this is the year for me where I think you got to let the kid go. I mean, he's playing in his prime.
10 less games. 10 less games in this season. 10 less games.
I would agree if he wasn't averaging over 30 minutes already, the most on the team. Like he's already averaging the most on the team, 33 minutes.
If you're going to make a championship run with Joel Embiid, at some point he's got to be able to play 30 plus minutes in the regular season and also play back-to-back. And also maybe not play every back-to-back, but not sit every back-to-back.
I agree, but those back-to-backs might need to be later in the season.
But if there's 4 games this week, if they're playing tonight, they have a back-to-back, and maybe I had the Nuggets game wrong. Maybe that's when they play the Nets or something. But if they have 4 games in a week or 4 games in 8 days, I don't see how he plays a back-to-back. I don't see it.
And here's the thing that really scares me, though. It's that we saw what happened with the Cavs, and we've done the whole thing where we said the Cavs are underrated. But it's just you don't want to sit him against the Magic. Sit him against the Wizards in hopes that you can beat the Nets and then you end up with 2 losses there instead of 1 guaranteed win against, because this isn't college basketball. They don't weight your wins differently. A win is a win in the NBA.
Yeah.
So my logic would be throw them out. First of all, I'd throw them out there for both games. But if you had to pick one, I might even just throw them out against the Wizards and say, hey, Kevin Durant's not playing. We'll sit
I
one of our
disagree,
guys too.
Josh. I disagree because the whole reason we're bringing this up is because we're talking about this as a test, right? If this wasn't a test,
sure.
then yeah, you throw them out for the guaranteed win. But I need to see how our team stacks up against what Max said should be a team that without Kevin Durant, we need to treat them like we have the upper edge against the Nets. We sit Joel Embiid, all we did was level that playing field again. So if we want to be
I'd much
considered
rather sit him against the Wizards. Dude.
Much rather.
The Wizards starting center is 6'7" Thomas Bryant. You can
who had a game.
Tony Bradley getting extended run in any game. It's
that one.
In Wizards.
Oh, free my boy Poirier, man.
The Hornets are terrible in the front court.
Free my boy Poirier. You know what I mean? No more Tony Bradley. Give me Poirier off the bench.
Whoever. Just say if you gotta sit Joel Embiid, sit him for the Wizards, man. Play him against the good teams.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see how the Sixers fare in this test. I'm not a great test taker myself, so hopefully Doc Rivers can get these guys a little bit more amped up. But we're going to transition right back to the NFL in our favorite segment of the week, winners and losers. And this is probably the last time.
That's the second time you did it. That's the second week in a row you said looters.
I know. We're not going to harp on that. We're not going to hold me. But this is probably the last time. It's the last one of the regular season. Definitely. We may or may not keep it going through the playoffs. We don't know yet.
If it makes sense.
If it makes sense. I don't know. I don't write the script around here.
It gets pretty slim pickings. We might need to do teams after the wild card weekend.
It does. Yeah. But that being said, we're going to transition right into it. We're going to go around the horn with biggest winners and losers. JJ, my man, biggest winner of week 17 of the NFL.
The Bears. It's got to be, right? Because, I mean, you were going into it. They might have been my winner last week, too, if I can remember, because of how Mitchell Trubisky was playing, putting them in a position to win and you're in. And then they Bears it, man. And then they lose. And you can see they're dejected. They're like, man, there's no way we get in. No, I cannot believe we blew our chance. And then the Cardinals blow it. And then they're like, wait, we're in? We're in? So Chicago got gifted a playoff berth after a loss. How many teams won and didn't control their own destiny? The New York Giants are pissed because they took care of their end and couldn't get in. Well, the Bears squandered their opportunity and still got in. And I think maybe they don't deserve it. They don't deserve to be my winners of the week. But Bears, y'all got a new life. Don't squander it. Y'all got a new life. You're going up against the Saints. You got a new life.
Max A. Million winner for week 17 of the NFL season.
Man, this is tough because I don't want to do this to you, Banners, but I'm sorry. It's got to be the Packers. It really does, because it's not even so much about them getting home field. It's really a lot less about taking it away from the Saints.
Yeah, it's big.
Honestly, I think the Packers and Saints, I mean, it's really easy cop out to go, 1 and 2 seeds are going to play each other in the championship game. But it does feel like to me that's kind of, the collision course for the NFC. It really just does. And I think that it's not like the Packers were the Chiefs where it's like, oh shit, even if we have to play the Chiefs at home, we're still going to be, full touchdown underdogs. It's not like that. If the Packers were playing out New Orleans, they're probably the underdog in that game. It's not like the Chiefs going to to Baltimore or to Buffalo.
The Saints are a completely different team away from the Superdome.
Exactly. So I think it's the Packers. Aaron Rodgers went out. He dominated the Bears like he always does. He wrapped up the MVP for himself. The Packers got the 1 seed. It's a hell of a Monday to be living up north at the Canadian border. So, good for the Packers, I guess.
Josh Safran, winner.
And Max, to your point, Max.
You're good. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Max, to your point, I think any team has that going to Green Bay, because all of Green Bay's most potential players, all warm weather teams. Saints, Bucks, Rams, even the Seahawks. I mean, they're not used to great weather, but they're not used to Lambeau. No one's used to Lambeau weather.
And the Seahawks are a shell of themselves.
The 2016. I think there's some heavy PTSD in there, and if Seattle is hot enough to make it to a title game against the Packers, that is your worst case scenario for the.
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
let's
That's
be
true.
honest, Seattle is an absolute shell of themselves. Like this
They
is
are,
just
but if
their-
they get hot now, it's the last thing you want to see is them getting hot
Bears-
now. To
The
match.
Yeah.
Bears, they did it again yesterday. They might be a show of themselves, and the fourth quarter comes around, and all of a sudden,
it was
they're
the
in Super Bowl.
49ers. Let's be real.
I know, but
Come on.
it's the fourth quarter, and hey,
All
that was a
right.
dime. That was a dime from Russell Wilson to end the game there.
Who's
But
your winner?
no, my winner, King Henry, and his team.
Mm.
His team barely won, which was, I don't know, might be a sign of things to come in the playoffs. But anyway,
Wait. Do the Titans look a little? Say it with me now. A little.
shaky,
baby. Little bit.
They're looking a little
have
bit
been.
I don't know.
shaky. But you know who hasn't been shaky? King Henry, Derrick Henry. That's why I'm giving him the winner of the week, because his team was not winning. And they should give Derrick Henry like 25% of all of Ryan Tannehill's rushing yards also.
For real.
I mean, it's just
the touchdown Tannehill score was all because they went for Derrick Henry.
every time. And I mean, to come into a game where people are talking about it, like almost half kidding because it's so ridiculous, like 223, I think that number was, and he smashed it. That was just fun to watch, first of all. And the other reason I'm making him my winner, he's Josh Safran's 2020 MVP of the year. And I love Aaron Rodgers, don't get me wrong. He's the bad man, but let's give this to a running back. I'm tired of it going to a quarterback. Derrick Henry rushed for over 2,000 yards, put the team absolutely on his back. Give him the MVP. I know it won't happen. He's my MVP.
First
Very, very
MVP
noble
since
of you.
first MVP running back since big old AP.
All day.
When
Big
was
old
that the
AP
year he
Peterson.
rushed?
I was
Was that
thinking
him
with
over
that
2K?
model, I guess this
That's-
might
yeah.
be my pretty predictable here, but my winner of the week is going to be the none other than the rookie of the year, or should be offensive rookie of the year, Justin Jefferson, who has not only passed Randy Moss for franchise records in yards and catches, but is now the leading rookie of all time in receptions and receiving yards. He finished the year with 88 catches, 1,400 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So that's, by all accounts, probably the best rookie season from a wide receiver, at least in the Super Bowl era. And this has been called by many pundits a Hall of Fame or one of the best wide receiver draft classes in history. It looks like a team up north got the best of the bunch. So hats off to JJ. The kid is an absolute stud. And who knows? I mean, you know what? I reserve judgment on the kid because let's be honest, he hasn't played a full 16 games yet. So how can anybody judge? He didn't start week 1 or 2. So I'm going to hold judgment. I'm not going to call him a stud yet. Who knows? You know what I mean? He could be a bust.
He did all that in
Smart.
14
That's
games.
smart.
But Max, go ahead and tell me again. One last time for good measure. Last time you get to say it, how Jalen Reagor was the right pick. Go ahead, tell me one more time.
Okay. I got that. All right. So we're going to move right on to NFL
Did I hear
losers
that?
of the week. That is a big old plead the fifth. I declined to answer. So we're going to come back around. JJ, losers of week 17 in the NFL.
There's a couple of them, man. There's a bunch of teams who had their absolute chance to get to the playoffs and kind of squandered it. A bunch of teams that were win and you're in. But it's got to be the Cardinals, right? Like it's got to be. You're going in and playing. I get it. You're playing a division opponent. You're playing a defense who's been hot. The Rams defense has been so hot coming into this coming week or this last week of the season. Aaron Donald's been on a tear. Jalen Ramsey has been the best cornerback in the league all season. But who did the Rams start at quarterback?
His last name is Walford.
John Walford.
Yeah.
That's QB number 3 of who the hell that be. There's been a couple who the hell that be this year. That's the third who the hell that be for me this year. And like you can't beat to get into the playoffs, season on the line, playoff lives on the line, and you can't get there. I get it. Kyler Murray had to miss part of the game due to injury. He came back though, and it looked like he missed most of it. But if you're the Arizona Cardinals, you had to be absolutely ecstatic on Tuesday when the Rams announced that Jared Goff was not going. So Goofy isn't there. Your starting quarterback on the opposing team isn't there. And now all I got to do is beat them when I'm in and I solidify myself in the playoffs, my own destiny. Say no more. And they couldn't get it done. Sad.
The Cardinals trotted out another who the hell that be also.
They did.
Yeah.
At one point,
who did come out?
That dude had the most forgettable name ever.
It was like
It was-
Shrevler.
Yeah,
And if you haven't gone on Twitter and watched his videos from when he won the Grey Cup in the CFL, that's exactly what you should do right after the show, because it's content. I'll say that much.
Yeah. At one point in that Cardinals-Rams game, it was who the hell that be against who the hell that be.
Yeah, exactly.
So Max, biggest loser of Week 17 in the NFL.
It's the Giants fans, because all of you
Someone had to
on
say it.
Twitter,
Someone had to say it.
I hate Doug Peterson. What are you doing? Why didn't my team make the playoffs? You finished 6-10 and lost to us head-to-head once. You have no right, zero right to expect or demand or be angry over not getting a playoff berth. You should be thanking your stars you didn't make the playoffs, because now you'd be like the Washington football team and you'd be picking at like 19 when you had 6 wins. And guess what? Picking at 19 when you have 6 wins doesn't do too much for you.
Don't help you. Yeah, don't help you.
You know what, Giants? I can't wait to. Yeah, I don't. There's going to be a lot of dirty play in the first Eagles-Giants game next year. We can timestamp this and throw it in the review for that episode whenever it airs. There's going to be a lot of dirty play in this, but I'm going to tell you guys now, I am trolling the shit out of Giants fans that week. I'm gonna be so ignorant on Twitter. If there are people in the stadiums, I'm gonna be ignorant in real life too, because that was honestly, it was so embarrassing. It's embarrassing enough to be one of those people that's a crybaby on Twitter and is replying to official accounts or beat writers or whoever, the big verified accounts with all the millions of followers saying things to get some red hearts on Twitter, right? It's one thing to do that as is. It's a whole other step of just absolute insanity to take that to a personal level, because you feel like your team that you're not even a part of, that you root for, got shafted on a personal level. That's just weirdo activity. So if you're one of those people, check yourselves. That's it for me.
Wow. That sounded like a tap out right there.
Did
you feel lighter? Did you feel lighter? It felt like you got like something was just like.
No, because it's mostly just because I've had to, over the last day, the conversation, and maybe rightfully so, has been on this whole Eagles thing and how they handled Sunday night and all that. And that's fine. If you want to debate that, that's fine. I guess as a fan, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to side with the organization to as much as an extent as I can. But, if I'm being honest here, the Giants finished 6-10. You have no right or leg to stand on in saying that you were good enough to deserve a playoff team. Win one more game against anybody all year, and that playoff spot's yours. Don't boil it down to the fact the Eagles tanked for 10 minutes and 40 seconds in the last game of the season when they had nothing to play for.
Jabril Peppers has been one of the most mature people about it. Yes. He put out a statement that was like, "Yo, we play 16 of these things. So to put our stake in our lives in another man's hands for the last week of the season, we gotta do better." Anytime you do that, you put yourself in a bad position. We had 16 of these games to put ourselves in a position to make the playoffs. I'm not blaming the Eagles. So good for him. That's leadership.
Josh, you're a loser of weeks. This is 17 in the NFL.
It's another one of the teams that could have just won and got in, and this one's got a twist. It's the Dolphins, and
that was bad. That was bad.
If you just look at the game, it's bad. I mean, that's bad enough. It's win and you're in. But look, I get it. They're playing the Bills. The Bills are a really good team, a legitimate contender. You didn't have to get beat that badly. And the other thing that makes it horrible is the Tua Tagovailoa story here. I mean, in my time watching football, there's been two slogans about tanking. There was suck for luck. That one, I would say it worked out at least briefly.
It worked out.
Then there was tank for Tua with the Dolphins. I mean, you have a whole season based on getting this guy, putting all your chips on him, and now he's here. And was it worth it, Dolphins fans? Because now, I mean, look, your defense looks great. It looks like you got a good team, but that guy you tanked for, he seems to be the guy who's
he needs to get saved by a 38-year-old journeyman every week.
Oh, that's Fitzmagic there. Oh, careful now.
Hey, respect now.
Careful now.
Fitzmagic makes that sound a lot better than what it is.
Yeah.
It's magic. It makes it so I can't explain it any other way. Fitzmagic's the only way I can explain it.
Exactly. It's magic for a reason. So the fact that your first year of this guy who you put all your chips in ends that way with a chance for him to put you in the playoffs, and you get decimated by your in division. I was going to say rival, but based on the last few years, I don't know if I can go that far. So look, it was just a bad look, and the Tua thing made it so much worse. Dolphins, that's a tough week. Brian Flores, hey man, you keep doing you.
Yeah. And it's actually really interesting. I was the Dolphins have the Texans number 3 overall pick, right? Is
They
that
sure
yeah,
do.
yeah. So maybe Brian Flores isn't really sold on Tua, and there's either a Zach Wilson or a Justin Fields sitting there, boys. I don't know.
I think they'll get one more year. They have picks the year after too.
You never know, man. They could Josh Rosen
True,
the
you
hell
never
out of
know.
this thing.
I wouldn't be surprised.
They could Josh Rosen the hell out of this thing. But I'm gonna stick in the realm of job security, and my loser for the week is gonna be Teddy Two Gloves Bridgewater. I think his job security with what is that, a 7 to like 32 or like 33 point loss to the Saints.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty much it for Teddy's starting resume, at least for the foreseeable future.
He's a perfect backup, man.
He's a great backup. He's a great backup.
He is, and it sucks to say, man, because my personal history with Teddy, I mean, you love the guy. He's a great guy, big character, dude, big locker room guy, but it's just. It sucks, man. So it looks as though the Carolina Panthers are going to be looking for another starting quarterback, and who knows?
Bring him back.
They might have found something with Phil Walker at the XFL. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. Who's to say? Not me. Maybe. I don't know. So that's my loser, Teddy Bridgewater, his starting job. So we're gonna bring it right into the second half right now. This one is going to be fun, guys. We're going to call it Bracketology TTPL edition because I know people from ESPN are out there. We're not infringing on trademarks right there. That's original TTPL.
Parody and or satire.
Andy, be cool.
Does not
be cool, Joe.
Jurisdiction of your intellectual property. That's
exactly. So go. ESPN, be cool. Go. All right.
So cool. Joe, calm down there, Joe.
So we're going to move right into Bracketology NFL edition, guys. We're gonna go through round by round and hold your Super Bowl winners. I don't want you to give anything away, so hold them, keep them in those pockets right there. We're gonna go through round by round and give just a little bit of reason why. Don't bore us to sleep, all right? But we're gonna go through. So we're gonna start, Josh. I'm gonna start with you, man. We're gonna start with the wild card rounds, all right? Washington Football Team versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay Bucks. JJ, I sat for 15 minutes today trying to come up with the reason to pick the football team, and I couldn't do it.
Would be stupid.
Max A Million.
I also sat around trying to pick a reason.
You tried. Y'all tried.
Football team to upset the Bucks, and the best that I could do was their front four is really good.
Yeah, it was not enough.
I don't think that's enough.
All right.
I gotta say it?
Yeah.
Do I got it? You can move on. No, that's the GOAT. That's the GOAT back there. Fire them cannons.
Well, I'm gonna go Washington Football Team strictly. Because I heard a man whose last name is Young yesterday look at the camera.
Dead in its eyes.
Where's Tom? I want Tom.
Dead
Give me
in its
Tom.
eyes.
I heard that.
And that's for Alabama in the title game over the years, and we've seen how that went.
And here's the thing. A lot of people have called Tom Brady out. And every single time they have, especially when it's like a young, energetic pup.
Yeah, but none of them look like that.
That's what I'm saying. Most of the time, he shrugs it off. But this was the only time, and especially now that Tom Brady's on my team, when Chase Young said it, like, look, it's not going to make me stop at my tracks, but it made me turn around and be like, y'all heard that, right? Just make sure that, the rest of y'all heard that.
Tristan,
right? Okay.
He said that
That's
shit.
You, Tristan against Chase Young. Just get the ball out quick, Tom. That's all I'm saying. Is get the ball out quick.
All right. So I'm doing that strictly because I'm scared of Chase Young. It's a big man. We're gonna move right along. Sticking in the NFC, we'll go NFC and then into AFC. So, Josh Stafford, back to you. Seattle Seahawks versus the LA Rams. Still feels weird to say LA.
Yes, Seattle Seahawks here. Yeah, we said Seahawks are a shell of themselves. This is a fate of the Rams. I've been calling the Rams phonies. I think they're phonies, and they're phonies. That's it.
All right. Max A Million. Seattle versus LA.
I really hate to do this, but Seattle has been extraordinarily up and down
Mhm.
this year. And I think if Jared Goff plays this week, I think the Rams. It's tough playing. It's tough playing teams 3 times in a year, and Seattle's already beat the Rams in both their head-to-heads, I believe. No, the Rams.
I think
They
they split
split?
one.
They
I think
split. They split.
Yeah, I think they split.
But regardless, the point I'm ultimately getting at here is it's hard enough to play a team 3 times in 1 year, but it's especially hard to play a team back-to-back weeks. And Seattle's margin of victory yesterday was not convincing enough to me. Their manner, maybe their margin not so much. They won by 11. Great, good job, good for you guys. Their manner of victory was not enough to. And it sucks because if we go back to the midseason stuff, I was all in on Seattle. I really was, and they reverted back to the 1990s where Chris Carson's the most important piece of their offense, and all their offensive line forgot how to pass protect again, like it's their Super Bowl years.
JJ, Seattle versus LA.
Seattle. And one, I just if Jared Goff plays, the Rams got a little shot. If he doesn't play and it's not 100% that he plays, they got no shot because then you're throwing out who the hell that be against the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs.
Yeah, I just want to say if Jared Goff does not play, I'm 100%.
You reserve the right to switch.
Okay.
Thank you. But Max, listen to how you ended your argument. They reverted to how they've been in their Super Bowl years. Oh, so they were that bad and went to the Super Bowl? Okay, so they
the
beat
defense
the Rams.
isn't.
But they gonna beat the Rams then. The defense is not Legion of Boom. It's nowhere near. But the defense hasn't been as bad as it was in the beginning of the season. They got to do enough to beat the Rams. They don't got to set the world on fire. You just got to beat the Rams.
So I'm gonna go Rams. And this is on the contingent again. I reserve the right to switch. You can run on Seattle, and that's really what it's a play action based offense. You can run with 3 good running backs or 3 serviceable running backs. Cam Akers has kind of taken off as of late. You can run, you can control the clock against Seattle. And I just that defense is so bad. I'm gonna go Los Angeles makes it to the second round before ultimately losing, but that's getting ahead of myself because we're moving into the last matchup of the NFC. Josh, New Orleans Saints versus Chicago Bears. This is a real easy one. I'm gonna wrap this one up in bubble wrap for you.
Wait,
really?
hold on, I'm gonna interject.
Okay.
If you're picking the Saints, raise your hand.
All right, we're moving on.
No, but I kind of thought about it for a split second. I went,
get out of here.
It's going to be close. I think it'll be close.
Get out of here.
It's not going to be close. I thought about it, and then I said I thought about it for a split second, and then the next split second happened, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's not going to be close.
No. Mitchell Trubisky can only put up 16 points against Green Bay's defense. He's no shot. So we're going to move right on to the AFC wildcard picture. Wildcard game. Let's see. That's not no, never mind. I'm sorry. The first AFC matchup, Tennessee Titans versus Miami Dolphins. That is an old, I'm looking at the wrong
Titans
bracket
Ravens
here, fellas. Whoops.
That's crazy because the NFC was spot on.
I know. That's really wild. Give me a minute. This is what we call the stall time. This is where we don't leave dead air, but we talk about absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So let me give you a little reason as to why I thought for the Bears for a split second.
Because I did too.
Like a little bit of a split second. There's been a couple of seasons where a team has gotten in when they shouldn't have. And I'm not just talking about like the 7-9 Seattle Seahawks who got in because it's a bad division or something like that. But like miracle ways where a team literally ends their game thinking this is our off season and looks up in an hour and they have a playoff berth. And it's like a new life. It's like a breathing into you. And now you're just playing with house money.
And I got our playoff
you
bracket
care when
updated.
you play with house money. Just go out. No one expects us to win. Just go win. You know what I mean?
So we're going to the AFC picture. The Chiefs, the 14-2 Chiefs, and much respect to Chad Henne, but he couldn't get them that 15-1 record. Respect goes out. Our first matchup in the AFC, Josh, coming to you. The Colts versus the Bills.
Upset alert. I'm going for it. I'm going upset alert.
Oh, God.
Give me the Colts.
Frank.
Give me. Oh, okay. All right. Bills are due. Look,
Yo,
Bills
Max is hilarious this episode, yo.
Oh, Josh, why are you picking the Colts, man?
The Bills are due for a loss. I love Frank Reich. No, that's not because of that. I wanted to give Max a satisfaction. I think the Bills are a legitimate contender But I do think these teams match up really well. I think the Colts have been a little bit disrespected this year, and they've had a little bit of moving parts on both lines and with injuries. They're healthy now. Jonathan Taylor just went off, and I think he can give the Bills a little bit of a problem.
Why didn't they do this earlier in the year with Jonathan Taylor? My
fantasy
fantasy
was on
my
him.
fantasy team.
He was running bad earlier this year.
God.
He was not running well earlier this year.
I just think it's a classic. Like, the Bills are really good. I want to be clear. Like, I'm not one of those people who are not buying the Bills. I just think this is one of those games where I like the matchup, and I think the Colts are going to surprise a bunch of people, play an ugly football game, and get out of there with a gritty playoff win.
All right, Max A. Million, the Indianapolis Colts or the Buffalo Bills?
So I actually do agree.
Wow. Frank Reich. Uh-oh.
Can't defend.
Right when he was about to defend it.
I know. He gave us the reason why. We'll come back to him. JJ.
Mm-hmm.
Colts or Bills, brother?
I mean, I'm not going to try to outthink myself here. The matchup is good, but if the matchup is good for one team, it's good for another team too. It's not just good for the Colts, it's also good for the Bills. And while, yes, you can run, you might be able to run and have good success on the Bills defense. You can pass well on the Colts defense. And I'm sorry, Josh Allen made a lot of people like double think the MVP race yesterday. Not like to give it to him, but to be like, man, should he at least just be a finalist? Look how he ended the season on a tear. So look, they're gonna have to deal with just a whole bunch of weapons, and they found another one yesterday in McKenzie, who you talk about going off. McKenzie went off yesterday, and now you get Stephon Diggs back in the lineup, and it's all over the place. And for an up and down season like Philip Rivers has had, he's going to go against one of the best secondaries in the league there in Buffalo. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough pickings for him. So I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. I'm going with the better team here.
All right, Max, do you want to expound on the reason why you're going with the Colts?
So I said I agree with Josh, except for the winner. I was starting to
threw a wrench in there.
That's bad time. That's bad timing for it to cut off. I do think that it'll be a really close back and forth game. I think that the Colts will probably come out firing, and I think the Bills will figure it out in the second half. I think it'll be. I think that's less than a 3-point game either way.
What's the cover?
I think this is the game. I think the Bills Colts is the game I'm most looking forward to in this round of the playoffs. I think this is going to be a great game. I got to go with the Bills though. The Indianapolis secondary started out the year very, very strong, but coming personally, I know exactly who Xavier Rhodes is. And he's not good enough to cover Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, or anybody on that Bills team. Josh Allen can throw all over him. But I think this is a great game. I'm really excited to watch it. So yeah, I'm going to go Bills here. We're going to move right on into probably the meh game. Steelers Browns. We got a replay. We got a preliminary viewing of it this week. So Josh, for the second week in a row, Browns Steelers.
I'm picking Steelers, and I'm saying it's not close. And wow. I think, I really am. And I was one of the people who said that the Steelers weren't legit when they were undefeated. And I didn't mean they weren't legit as a team. I meant they weren't legit as an undefeated team. Great defense. I mean, we've watched the Steelers before. Not even close. Steelers.
Max A. Million.
Much as it pains me, I have to echo that sentiment. You guys know that every fiber of my being wants to say the Browns here. I love the Browns. So I love what they're doing. I love what they've built. I love how that team plays. But the Steelers own them. The Steelers own them, and the Bengals, unlike the Ravens could ever dream of owning those two other Ohio franchises. This feels just like very deja vu of like 2017 when the Bengals were like the best that they had ever been with Andy Dalton, and they played the Steelers in the first round, and that was the Vontaze Burfict knocking Antonio Brown's brain loose.
Right.
And the Bengals never had a shot. And as much as it pains me to say it, I think the Steelers run away with this.
JJ, Steelers Browns.
Look, Baker Mayfield deserves a whole lot of credit for what he's been doing. Kevin Stefanski deserves a whole lot of credit for what he's been doing. The Browns were, and I said this when the Browns had 8 wins, that they were a legit football team. They need to be taken as such and taken seriously. The Steelers win this game. And I think the only reason, not the only reason, but the biggest reason the Steelers win this game is experience, man. You got to go through the NFL playoffs once before you knock off a team who was 11-0 at one point. Like, you just got to go through it more than once. And there's 99% of the Browns team right now hasn't even been close to it, never sniffed it. So now you're going to go up against a perennial powerhouse in not only Ben Roethlisberger, but Mike Tomlin and a surefire Steelers organization. I do think it's a little closer than you two are thinking, but I'm going Steelers as well.
I think it's a close game, but I'm going to be the guy that does it. I think the Browns do it. I think
there's a better chance you guys are giving it that the Browns win. I'm gonna put my money on the Steelers, but I'm with you, James. I'm with you.
I think the Browns do it. I think the Browns do it. The spread's only 4.5 points right now. It's that I think that feels right to me. A 4.5 point spread feels right to me. I think it's going to be a close game, but I just don't like. I have no confidence in the Steelers team at all, at any phase. Like even Minkah Fitzpatrick looked bad yesterday. Like that tells me something. When Minkah doesn't look great, that's an indicator for not great things. Like Ben's shot. Mike Tomlin is one of the great coaches of our era. He should be in the Hall of Fame when he's done coaching. There's no doubt about that in my mind, but I don't see it. I have no confidence in the Steelers team. I think Kevin Stefanski gets these Browns to a blowout loss in the second round.
Either whatever team wins, I think this is the closest game of wild card weekend is Steelers Browns.
I would agree with that. Yeah, the 4.5 point spread feels right, and I think that might even shrink before game time. So we're gonna move on. Josh, my man, Baltimore Ravens versus Tennessee Titans, 4 and 5 seed. Who you got?
Yeah, this is the game I'm most excited to watch this wild card weekend. I almost feel like Titans Ravens is like a division series that's not in division just based on the last year. And because of that, Max, was it Max or JJ who said it? It was someone who said it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row.
Max.
And that is why I'm going to go with the Ravens, because I feel like these teams are getting more friendly with each other, and not in a friendly way, but it's time. The Ravens are due. Titans won those last 2 games. The Ravens are hot. I got to give it to the Ravens, and we all said shaky baby. We're not going to pick the team that we gave the shaky baby treatment to, are we?
That would be against everything shaky baby believes in, Josh. Let me tell you, it's in the bylaws.
That's what I thought.
All right, Maximilian, Ravens, Titans, go.
The Titans defense is bad. It's bad. They've let everybody put up a bunch of points on them, and quietly the Ravens are on a 5-game winning streak, and if that's not peaking at the right time, I don't know what is. So I'm going to say the Ravens control the clock and they edge it out.
All right, JJ, Ravens, Titans.
I almost am 100% with Max. Like I'm Ravens for almost all the exact reasons that you said. To me, it boils down to the first 2,000-yard rusher in a long time versus the first quarterback to rush for 1,000 yards back-to-back seasons. That's what it comes down to. And I think the quarterback who's the first to rush in back-to-back 1,000 seasons is the one who edges it out. And I do think it's an edge. But I'm going to give this to the Ravens. It's also Lamar's first opportunity to win a playoff game. He's an MVP who hasn't won a playoff game. So
not great.
You got to do it at some point, right?
Not great.
You got to do it at some point, right?
Oh boy, if I didn't watch the Titans the past 2 weeks, like if I didn't watch them in the past 2 weeks, I probably would say the Titans win this game because they just seem to be the Ravens' kryptonite. But I can't do it. I can't go with them. The Lamar figured himself out. He's a completely different player than what he was to start the season. So again, if I didn't get to watch the Titans, if I didn't have the eye test, I would go Titans just for the matchup. I think Mike Vrabel is a fantastic coach. But there's only so much a coach can do. And that's, again, my same sentiment for Mike Tomlin. I just don't trust the Titans. So I'm going to go Ravens here. Oof. All right. So you know what? I'm going to put the kibosh on that. We're going to go through the next week and see how our predictions did. I'm going to do our next round of predictions after the week of games. All right. So we're going to hold off on any predictions, and I'll do a little bit more homework beforehand, and I'll have the spreads with me and everything so you guys can do your picks as well. Josh, I think that might actually be your department since you are planning on debuting something. Tell us more about it.
Oh yeah. We're going to be debuting some picks for this week. And I mean, I might have given a few of them away. We're calling it the old fast 5 here. It's just a little fast game 4 picks for the weekend, not limited to football. I'm sure it's all going to be football, though, this weekend. And what I'm most excited about is I have to pick one underdog out of those 5, a money line underdog, something crazy. Ooh. But yeah, that's going to be
spiciness.
Spiciness, exactly. That's going to be debuting this weekend for your round of what? What is this? Basketball? No, wild card weekend.
Love that. So with that being said, that's the first round of our bracketology. Before we move into tap outs, quick Sixers update. The Sixers are up going into the end of the third quarter. They are up 82-66. And our boy Tobias Harris has 22 points going into the fourth quarter, boys.
Are we right? Is that what we've become? Just what? Unbeknownst to us is like the Toby train. Is that what we are? Is that where we are?
I think we were on a train.
I would say the opposite. I held out for him as longer than anybody last year.
Yeah. I think we were on a train. I just don't think we know which one we got on. So
that's true. We going somewhere.
Here it is.
But we keep looking up at all these stops. Tobias Harris, 22 points. Next stop, Tobias Harris, 26 points. Like, whoa, what train? How we
give me a 30 burger one night. Give me a 30 burger one night to feel because right now I don't fully believe it. You know what I mean? Give me a 30 burger and I'll be like, all right, bet that's it. You know what I mean? All right. So we're going to move into tap outs. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Mine's short and sweet and unencompassing. We talked about the Sixers, who are the best team in the Eastern Conference, but the boys in the Valley are the best team in the Western Conference right now. And to Chris Paul, if I could send a telepathic message to my son's faithful, it's going to take me a little bit. Okay, let me be transparent. It's going to take me a little bit to be fully 100% emotionally committed to this Suns team. I was talking to Josh about it off air before we came on, is that it takes a little bit to get the ball rolling. I mean, most fans are dealing with their entire lifetime to build up an emotional attachment to a team. I'm dealing with a couple months here, and y'all started in the smack of football season when my team is good for the first time in 13 years. So I can only go so many places right now. And my allegiance is to the Suns. I peep what y'all are doing. Thank you. And when football season is done, I'm dialed in, but just keep it right there. Keep it right there. My tap out is just, I see y'all. And I appreciate y'all.
All right. Gentlemen, who's up next?
I have a quick PSA for the world. After being a victim of chapped lips this weekend, I would just like to remind everybody that, it seems like winter's actually starting now. So make sure you get yourself some chapstick, some handy chapstick, whether that is actually I'm not gonna say any brand names because we're not getting paid. So
there you go.
So big chapstick, you want in, you gotta talk to us, but until then, no name drops. So I'm just gonna drop a nice PSA for everybody. Stay warm and make sure your lists stay hydrated.
I love it.
Love that.
Really
Josh Saffron, you got one, baby?
Oh man, I don't have much. All I'll say is college football sucks. College football playoff sucks even more than college football. Not only was the selection terrible, the games were terrible, and I'm hoping the championship won't be as terrible, but it probably will be. Make it 10 teams, make it 8 teams, anything but this. I wish I wasn't subjected.
8 teams. It needs to be 8 teams. And I'll say this, Ohio State looked so impressive, smacked around Clemson for that second half. They still don't got a shot against Bama.
11.
They still don't got it, huh?
11?
Dabo had them right 11.
Yeah,
so what's that make them? What does that make them 12?
When he lost. That's what I want to change my tap out to.
Does that make them 12?
It must, but even with that, to me, they still don't got a shot against Bama. I watched that Bama team. There's no team that beats them.
Oh, woof. I don't have one, so I guess default would be, let's see.
Remind everybody that we're available audio only now.
Yeah, well, I mean, before that, I guess my default would be episode 4 of Nasty Knuckles podcast with former Flyers enforcer Todd Fedoruk. The dude is one of the funniest people I have ever met in my life. Is out now on all podcast platforms. And speaking of podcast platforms, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be Anchor, whether it be Spotify, whether it be Apple Podcasts, or any of the other podcast providers. We're Trust the Process Live. You can get us wherever. You know what I mean? Audio, visual form, we got it all. There's really only 2 things, but we got all of it. That is it. That wraps us up. Thank you for joining us here on Trust the Process Live. We'll be back same time, same place. As always, we are brought to you by My New Philly, where something is always new and everything's always Philly. Have a good one, Philly. Keep it easy and just think about the Sixers. You know what I mean? Just push everything else out and focus on the Sixers.
Yeah.
P-U-C-C-A-N.